And I wanted to ask General Allen, can you give us an update on end strength and where we are in terms of numbers on end strength? How many people have we had to use involuntary terminations for in 2014? What's been the status of those individuals? You know, are there people that we have in combat that we're giving involuntary terminations to? And then, you know, one thing I think that's fairly powerful as we look at, if we go to sequester, where does that put our end strength? I know we've talked about it in the larger committee, but also what does that mean in terms of involuntary terminations? And I really want people to understand, I think this committee understands very well. In some ways, when we talk about sequester, when you're talking to the Armed Services Committee, a little bit like preaching to the choir, but we want to get this word out also to the broader Senate. And so if you could comment on the involuntary termination issue and strength numbers, and I would also then ask General Paxton to follow up the same with the Marine Corps.
Yes, Madam Chair. The bottom line is we are at about 498,000 today in the United States Army, headed toward an end of fiscal year number of 490,000 and budgeted in the POM to go down to 450,000. To give you the broader answer first, to get to 450,000 soldiers, as has been directed by our current budget, that will require the involuntary separation of 14,000 soldiers. On average, that's officers and non-commissioned officers. On average, it's about 2,000 per year. Okay, so FY14 was about 2,100 soldiers. Just over 50% of those soldiers served over 2 or more combat tours. So these are soldiers that answered the call multiple times to meet the requirements that the nation had. They were
2 or more combat tours.
2 or more combat tours for 50% of that, those that we were asking to leave involuntarily. Now, first and foremost, this is not a choice the United States Army took. This is a budget-driven requirement. And so
I assume that if you've done 2 tours, you're not terminating these people because they aren't capable of fighting.
You are absolutely accurate. And you asked a question, were we really having to separate some soldiers that were forward deployed? The answer is yes. Let me first let you understand that treating those veterans of multiple combat tours with dignity and respect is our absolute #1 commitment. Every single officer or non-commissioned officer that we asked to involuntarily separate was briefed before the board was held by a general officer, first general officer in the chain of command. And then when the board completed its process and identified those for separation, they were briefed again face-to-face as much as possible. In a couple cases, they had to have the general officer contact by phone or VTC with the immediate commander present to ensure that we treated these, people who had served so courageously with the absolute utmost dignity and respect. And our objective in notifying people that were forward deployed was to give them the maximum time possible to transition effectively to the next phase of their life. The minimum that we wanted to provide them was 10 months at least, so that they would have an opportunity to take the benefit of all of the transition education, plug them into employment advisors through programs like our Soldier for Life initiative, and ensure that we set them up for success, to include providing opportunities for mentors from industries around their communities that they intend to go back to. So not a choice that we took willingly or voluntarily, but we have taken it on. We have ensured the appropriate care of every one of our soldiers and are committed to do so as we go forward.